Hello and welcome to class. My name is Melanie Bolin, aka Geeky Fit online and on socials. And today we are going to focus on keeping it low to the ground. And we're going to be working on some length, some twisting, just some restorative moves that are hopefully going to help you feel really good. So you're going to need your mat. I'm going to recommend using a yoga strap. If you do not have a yoga strap, you can also go and grab a towel that allows you to hold your hands a little wider than shoulder width when it's pulled tight. So you can go ahead and grab that towel if you don't have a yoga strap or something else that you can use that is kind of nice and long and can wrap around and hold on good and tight. And you might also want a pair of yoga blocks. I'll demonstrate use of these at times if necessary. You may or may not end up needing these. I am actually using one right now under my seat. So if you struggle with sitting low on the ground with crossed legs, if you have any hip pain or if you find your knees are shooting way up to the sky, this can help because you can kind of scoot your tailbone to the edge, get your knees pointed down a little bit, and it's a little more comfortable for your hips and your knees. So that's something you can give a try if you would like to. We're going to go ahead and get started though down on our backs. So I'm going to take this yoga block out and I'm going to lay down on my back. Now you'll want to lay long ways on your mat. I'm kind of on this nice big yoga mat, so I'll be moving around and changing my positions just so you can see the moves well. But for starters, again, come down nice and comfortable onto your back into a nice corpse pose. And I'm going to remove my hair clip because you want to make sure that you don't have anything kind of blocking the back of your head. So if you have your hair in a bun or a ponytail, you might want to move it out of the way. Bring your arms to your sides, palms to the sky. And just take a few deep breaths down here. Just close your eyes and relax your brow. And keep that breath in and out through the nostrils. Now, I forgot to mention you can also put on some music in the background if you would like to have music playing. You can always pause me if you need to and come back. Now, as we go through our practice today, I just want you to keep in mind that the goal of this class and any class is to honor where your body is at today. That means that there's no gritting our teeth through pain or pushing our bodies past the capacity they're willing to take us to today. So if you've had a rough week, you've worked out a lot, you might be easing off from what you can normally do, or if you're feeling really good, you might want to try to take it a little bit deeper into your stretches. But if you're just here to kind of loosen up and feel good, then you can just kind of take a moderate range of motion and focus on alignment first over depth in all of our poses. My goal is to make this accessible to everyone. I'm someone who also deals with limitations in my body due to hip impingements and autoimmune disease. So if that's you as well, just do your best to take your body where it's going to take you on the journey today. And take one more deep breath in and out through the nostrils. And we're going to go ahead and grab your strap or your towel if you have it. Now, just sit up enough to get it around the bottom of one foot. We're going to bring that foot to the sky, and the other foot is going to plant to the ground for stability. All we're going to do is just hold with the strap for now. Take 2 or 3 deep breaths with that leg up to the sky. And now we're going to add a little bit of movement to this. So with your next inhale, you're going to pull that foot towards you and you're going to bring that knee down to either the chest or you can bring it out wider to the shoulder if that's more comfortable for your hip. And then we're going to exhale it to the sky. So inhale, bend, exhale, extend. And just keep doing that, bending and extending through the knee, through the hip. And really getting some length on that hamstring so you can start bringing that foot more over the face if your hamstring allows for it. Just give me one more. And then we're going to go ahead and hold that foot to the sky, still holding on with both hands. Now we're going to move the bottom leg a little bit. So with our exhale, we're going to slide that leg out long. And then we're going to inhale, slide that foot back, bend the knee. So exhale, take that leg out long. Inhale, slide it in, bend the knee. And we're just going to do that a few more times. Take it at your own speed of inhale and exhale. It may vary a little bit from my cueing, or if you happen to be doing this with a partner, your speeds can be a little different. Just give me one more, sliding that leg out and in. And then we're going to go ahead and take the strap off that foot, plant it down, bring the other leg up to the sky. And again, keeping the opposite leg now knee bent, foot planted. And just take a couple breaths, holding it to the sky, feeling that length down the back of the legs. The head should be resting comfortably on the floor, and think of pulling those shoulders down to the floor as well. Now we're going to add that motion. So you're going to inhale, bend, exhale, extend. And just do that a few times. Now, if you don't have a strap or a towel, you can do this with having the hands by your sides, or you can even have your hands wrapping around your hamstring and bending and extending here. Still working on warming up that hamstring, but you don't get the little extra pull of the band. And then on the next one, we're going to go ahead and hold it at the top. Keep holding on with both hands. And now we're going to take that bottom leg, and as we exhale, we're going to extend it long. Inhale, bend it upward. And just keep going through that, extending that leg out and in. Doing this, you're going to feel that hamstring still on the upper leg, but my hope is that you're also going to feel the hip flexor on that bottom leg. And just give me one or two more. And then we're going to bend that knee, take the strap off, and you can kind of move the strap off to the side for a little bit. We won't need it for a little while. Now we're going to go through just some alternating knee pulls to get the hips a little more. So draw your right knee up to your chest. You can wrap your hand around the shin or under the knee around the hamstring. Extend the opposite leg out, still keeping that head on the floor, those shoulders on the floor, and think of that tension you created during that warm-up as you extend that leg out. Really try to press it down. And we're just going to take 3 deep breaths, and with each exhale, try to give that knee that's pulled in a little more of a squeeze. Now again, depending on your hip, that knee might be more straight over the chest, or it might be more out towards the shoulder or anywhere in between. And after you've taken 3 deep breaths, you can release that leg, bring the other knee up and in, grabbing on again over the shin or under the knee, and extend that bottom leg out. And then we're going to hold and breathe on this side. 3 nice deep breaths in and out through the nostrils. And when you've finished, you can plant that foot down. Let's bring the other foot down as well. Walk those heels in nice and close. Bring your hands to your sides. Press the shoulders and the backs of the arms into the ground. And one vertebrae at a time, we're going to peel up to a bridge pose. So you start by tucking that tailbone, starting to lift that pelvis to the sky, all the while pressing the chest and those arms into the ground, squeezing the glutes. And when you get to the top, just hold it for a couple beats. Make sure the knees aren't flaring out or buckling in. Feel the ground through your feet. One more deep breath. And as you exhale, slowly peel yourself back down. Give those knees a quick little hug. And now we're going to take those knees in opposing circles. So they're both going to open out and then circle around and back in. And just do that a few times, working those hips around. And then take it the other way. And now we're just going to work on warming up the rotation in the spine a little bit. We're going to start with the feet on the floor, a little wider than the hips, hands to the sides. And you're just going to exhale the knees to one side, inhale through center, exhale the knees to the other side. And just keep that going side to side, feeling that kind of loosen up in the hips, maybe also in the glutes and the lower back. Trying to keep both shoulders nice and square on the floor as you do this. Give me one more on each side. And then we're going to end in the center. Now from here, we're going to work on the hips a little more. We're going to take our left leg out long. We're going to bring our right leg up. So our knee is going to be over our hip, knee bent to 90, flex through the ankle. And now we're going to work that hip with some internal and external rotation. So you're going to think of bringing that heel across the midline of the body and away from the midline of the body. So you're just kind of working it around in the socket again. I don't get much range of motion on this hip because this is the one I have the impingement in. So your range of motion might be a little bigger than mine. It also might be a little smaller than mine. Just work again with what that body's giving you today. Let's do one more on that side. And then we're going to place that foot down, bring the other one up, extend the bottom leg out long. Again, knee at 90, knee over hip, ankle nice and flexed. Heel comes over the midline and away. And try to keep this action happening at the hip so that we're not overly pressing into the knee to try to get more range of motion. And just do one or two more on this side. And then we'll go ahead and plant that foot down, bring the other one up to join it. Now I'm going to turn a little more sideways for this one so you can see the different variations I'm doing on my legs. So we're going to come back up to that bridge pose and hold. And I'm going to give you an option to challenge the glutes a little more. So again, press those arms into the floor, press the shoulder blades into the floor, start to tuck that tailbone, press the feet, squeeze the glutes, one vertebrae at a time, comes on up. Now at the top, make sure the knees aren't buckling or flaring. And you can continue holding here with both feet on the ground, or if you want to challenge for that one leg, you're going to raise one leg off the ground. So you can keep the leg up with that toe pointed or flexed, knee bent, or you can really strive to lengthen that leg up to the sky. Again, you can point or flex through the ankle. If you're prone to Charlie horses in your calves, you might want to focus on flexing and then bring that down. Try to keep that pelvis up, bring the other leg up if you desire. Otherwise, you're still holding with both feet on the ground. You can also come down early and hug the knees into your chest as you desire. But that bottom butt cheek should kind of be screaming because it's working to hold that body up. And if that leg is up, let's bring it down. We'll meet back in standard bridge. Slowly roll the vertebrae down. Feel that lower back press into the floor. Hug your knees into your chest. Now we're going to work on that rotation a little more. Hands come to the sides. Now you'll notice my knees are a little in front of my hips here. My heels are kind of down. We want to push the knees out over the hips, raise the heels up. So now we've got our shins about parallel with the floor. Let's hug the knees together. Turn the head to the left. Drop both knees to the right for just a gentle spinal twist to start. Now, the knees may not touch the ground. You'll notice mine aren't. Some people's will. But you want to keep that left shoulder pressing into the ground. So you don't want the shoulder to come up just to get the knees down. I'd rather have the shoulder down, the knees a little up. And if you want to intensify, you can take that right hand, place it on top of the thigh, and then just kind of give a little press down. And that'll create a little more length coming down the lower back and into the side of the glutes here. Take one or two more deep breaths here. And then if that hand is on the leg, take it off. We're going to come back to the center. Kind of realign again. Make sure those knees are over the hips. Heels are lifted up a little bit. Turn the head to the right. Drop both knees over to the left. And again, you can just kind of hang right here, let gravity take you. Or now you can take that left arm, place it on top of the right thigh, and just kind of press down. Now, as I press down with that left arm, I'm also pressing down with my right arm, kind of creating a little tension there. And as you exhale, see if you can just kind of relax into it a little bit. I know we're spending a lot of time on our backs today, but it feels kind of good, right? This can be an excellent one you can even do before bed sometime, just to kind of loosen everything up from the day. Let's take our hand off, come back to the center, and plant both feet down. Now we're going to work on that hip just a little more here. So go ahead and keep your left foot planted, cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Now, if your back is kind of arching up, I want you to engage that core, press that lower back to the floor. We're just going to take our right hand to the inside of our right thigh, flex through that right ankle, and we're going to exhale, press that knee away from us. Inhale, let it release. Exhale, press it away, and inhale, release. And just keep that going. Now, if you've got really nice, loose, open hips, you might not feel this too much, but it's meant to be gentle, so you don't have to take it super intense here. Now, in this next one, we're going to hold it in that pushed out position. Make sure you're still flexing that ankle and just take 3 deep breaths, pushing that knee away. Release. Let's uncross. Cross the left ankle over the right thigh. And this time we're going to bring our right hand to the inside of that left thigh. And again, as we exhale, we're going to press. Inhale, release. And keep that going with the breath. Now we will be back on our backs again. And we will intensify or get a little deeper into some of these. But try to remember these variations so that you can always revert back to this if you need to, but this is just kind of waking up the hips. If you ever are in a class too, and pigeon pose happens and it's a little too intense, you can always lay on your back like this, do a nice reclined figure 4 stretch, a little easier on the joints, and hold it open, and then release, and uncross. From here, we're just going to roll over to one side, and you can come all the way down or you can come up onto your elbow like I am, but if you're more comfortable laying all the way down on your side, you can. The main thing I want to avoid is shrugging into the shoulder, so if you tend to lean towards that, lay all the way down. Otherwise, if you can get on your elbow and lift out of that shoulder, that's grand. We have our knees kind of bent here, and we're going to work on the quad on top. So you're going to reach back for that ankle, and the goal here is you're going to pull the heel towards the butt and then start pulling the knee back until you feel that quad stretch. Then you're going to inhale, release that knee forward. Exhale, pull it back, get that quad stretch, and inhale forward. We're going to do that a few more times on this side. And the goal as you pull it back is to not hyperextend into the lower back, so you shouldn't feel it in your back, just in that quad. And then hold this last one. Take 3 deep breaths, get that nice stretch down the front of that leg. And release, and we're going to go ahead and kick it around to the other side. So again, you can lay all the way down if you want, or you can be up here on your elbow. Knees are bent. Go ahead and grab that ankle. And we're going to start with the movement. So we exhale, pull it back. Inhale, bring it forward. Exhale, pull it back. Inhale, pull it forward. I'm working around my mic box a little bit, so if my arm looks like it's doing weird things, it's just 'cause I'm trying not to catch the mic box. So do that a couple more times. And then on the last one, you can hold it back and really think of pulling that heel towards the glute and bringing that knee behind you without hyperextending into the spine. And then you can release and just come on up to seated. And I'm going to go ahead and tie my hair up out of the way here. So if you took your hair out to lay on the floor, you can take a minute to kind of adjust that as well. Now from here, we're going to be working on some seated forward fold variations. So the goal here is to try to get these legs as long as possible, and you're going to want to grab your strap again. Now I'm just going to fold mine in half so they don't have a bunch hanging down the sides. But if you have the towel, that works as well. But the goal is you don't want like long bits flapping around down here. And you want to get it so it's a little bit wider than the shoulders. So start by trying to find your sits bones, sitting up nice and tall. Curl those toes to the sky. So you're going to flex into the ankles. It's called dorsiflexion, if you want the fully technical term. And you want to make sure that they're not rolling out or in, but nice and sturdy. Once you have your strap, create tension, pull those shoulders back and down, and kind of feel the lats engage. So in other words, this area right here is what you should feel engaging as you pull those shoulder blades back and down, creating that tension. Now 3 times, we're going to inhale the arms up and just exhale the arms down, bringing them down to the thighs. Inhale the arms up, exhale the arms down. Now you want to try to stop around the ears or a little bit in front of. If you have the ability to go a little behind the ears, that's okay, as long as you're not double jointed and going too terribly far. Now in this next one, we're going to hold it at the top. And now as if someone's pulling those arms forward, start hinging at the hips. Bring it on forward, bring it on forward. And then you're going to scoop that down, bring it up your thighs, up your belly to the sky. And again, bring it forward. And scoop, and up, and forward. And scoop, and up. Now we're going to reverse that. You're going to slide it down your legs and reverse that hinge to the sky. Bring it down, scoop it down your legs. Reverse that hinge. One more time. And now we're going to hold it up. All right. I'm going to turn to the side a little bit so you can kind of see my alignment a little better. And now we're going to take it back forward. Now, if you want to, you can utilize that strap, bring it around your feet. All right, but if you're comfortable getting a little deeper and you can reach your feet with your hands, you can let the strap go and just grab with your hands. But the goal here is we want to avoid rounding to this position. So if the strap helps you avoid that by keeping it around your feet, and then you can pull those shoulder blades back and down and get that length in the spine. That's what I want you to practice doing. Now, if it's more comfortable, you can bring the feet closer together at this point. If you have that strap, that might be a little better for you. Or you can keep them hip distance apart, your choice. So again, shoulders back and down, not rounding here. So it's a hinge from the hips, and some of you might be able to comfortably just rest your hands on your feet or your heels, or wherever else you can reach to. And go ahead and release it up. You can take that strap off to the side again. And now the feet are out wide, and we're going to bring those toes to the sky. Heels to the ground, hands behind you, and think of lifting into that chest now. So we're opening that chest to the sky. And we're going to work on some 90-90 hip swivels with the knees. So we're going to take those knees to one side, and we're going to inhale through center, take them to the other side. Now, the one thing I don't want to see is this, because sometimes I see this in class where people's knees are kind of like really close together and stacking on one another. We want those legs out so wide that when you come to the side, you've got a nice 90-degree angle in the knees and in the hips and in the ankles. Now, I know I'm stopping to kind of show some form stuff, but you can obviously keep moving through all of this, side to side. Loosen up those hips. Now we're going to stop the hips over on the right. Take that right hand, and we're going to reach it up and behind us, our left hand up and behind us, press into the right hand, and extend through the hip flexor and bring it down. That hand comes back. We rotate to the other side. Lift and lengthen. Bring it down. And just keep that going a few more times. Let's do one more on each side. And again, your speed may vary from me, so you might get some less reps in, you might get more reps in. Everyone's going to be a little different here. Now this time when we swivel to the right, we're going to stay to the right. And I want you to try to sit upright a little more. It might be intense on this hip, so you can always kind of decrease the angle or do what you need to do there. We're going to turn our shoulders over that right knee. So now we're kind of squaring off a little bit. Now you can decrease the tension on that back leg by scooting the knee in, or increase by scooting the knee back, your choice. And then we're going to go ahead and walk the hands a little bit forward. Now you can stay right here if you're already feeling the stretch and you don't want to add any movement. But if you're feeling good, exhale, bend the elbows, bow that chest down. Inhale, lift it up. Exhale, bow it down. Inhale, bring it up. We're going to do that a couple more times. And one more. And then let's go ahead and take it to the other side. Again, sit up, square the hands over that knee. Now, if you want to intensify for that hip flexor, you can take that knee back a little bit farther. Walk the hands a little bit out in front. Make sure everything is flexed. And then you can exhale, take a bow, inhale, lengthen. So just bow and lengthen. Inhale and exhale. We're just trying to loosen up into the glute, the hip, and the lower back here. And then from here, bring that hand behind. Let's swivel back over to the right. And we're going to frame that knee one more time. Now from here, we're going to drop down onto our back elbow. So now you're back down on your right arm. Pretend the knee is an arrow and it's pointing in a direction. We're going to take that top hand and we're going to reach in the direction that knee is pointing, creating some length down that side. Now you can stay on your forearm and back and keep pushing through that elbow, or you can extend out that arm too. Get those arms out into a nice letter Y, and you can even bring that forehead down to the mat or to a yoga block. So if the forehead doesn't comfortably reach the mat, this is where you can grab yourself that yoga block. Give your forehead a nice little raised base to rest on while you're reaching those arms out. And again, you can intensify by taking that top knee back just a little bit. Couple deep breaths. And then we're going to walk it back. Now, if you extended that bottom arm, come back to your forearm. I'm going to move my block over here because I might want it. So we're back on our forearm, again, pushing out of that shoulder. We're going to inhale that arm up, and we're going to exhale, wrap around and give ourselves a hug. Inhale it up. Exhale, give a hug. And just keep going through that motion here, working on the spine. Give me one more. And then reach it up nice and long. Hold it up there. And then we're going to push up on that bottom arm. Bring that arm back down in front. We're framing that front knee again. And we're going to go ahead and bring it behind. Swivel over to the other side. Come up, square that knee. And then I'm going to go ahead and drop down on that back arm. And I'm going to take that top arm, go the direction my knee is pointing. Reach it out nice and long. My weights are in the way. Hopefully you don't have anything in your way. You can leave that back elbow down, or you can bring the forehead to the ground or to a yoga block and get both arms out nice and wide, like you're making the letter Y with those arms, creating that length. You can intensify again by taking that back knee back a little further if you want. Really feel that in the lower back, the lats, a little bit of everything. Take a few deep breaths here. And then you're going to walk back in. If you extended that left arm, come back to the left elbow. And then we're going to go ahead and inhale that right arm up. Exhale, rotate it under. Inhale it up. Exhale, rotate it under, and just do that a couple more times. Really working on that nice rotation. And just give me one more. And then we're going to bring that arm down, lift the other arm, come back to the center. And we're sitting upright back in the center again. Now from here, we're just going to bring the bottoms of the feet together, far away from our groins. We want a little more of a diamond shape than butterfly wings at this point. Just keep them out nice and far. Now, if you have any issues with your hips or knees, you can always support the knees with the yoga blocks underneath the thighs or the knees if you desire. We're going to find those sits bones again. Hinge forward, walk the hands down, and then hold. Now, with the heels farther away from the groin like this, my hope is you feel it in the outside of the legs, even down into the lower back. So the heels should not be close at this point. We actually don't want to feel this stretch a ton in the inner thighs. That's coming up next. So this is more outside of the legs. All right, and you can wrap your hands around your toes, around your feet, whatever feels good. You can also just reach down on the floor. And it is okay to start rounding into the back at this point as you come forward. And go ahead and bring it up, keeping the legs like this. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, twist to the right, trying to keep tall on that spine. One hand to the outside of the knee, the other behind. Inhale to center. Exhale over to the left. Just kind of loosening up that back for a minute. And then bring it back to center. Bring those hands back down. And now we're going to scoot the heels in a little bit more. Now here's where how close the heels come might vary. If I try to pull my heels any closer, I sit back and round onto my tailbone, but you want to stay on your sits bones here. So if you struggle with that, you can keep your heels out a little farther, or you can opt for that seated yoga block like I showed with cross legs at the beginning of class. Sit on the yoga block, slide your sits bones out to the edge of it, and then you can bring the heels in a little closer while still being on the sits bones, and you can round it over a little bit more. So this kind of takes some of the pressure off of my hips, and I'm still kind of getting to open my knees, but some people are going to be all the way to the ground in this butterfly. I am not one of those people. So if I'm on the ground doing this, keep holding. If I'm on the ground doing this, my feet are a little bit farther out, and I can still kind of round into it, but it's a slightly different position for my lower back when I'm down here. So you can kind of play with the blocks, see what you think. You can also utilize those blocks again to support the knees if it seems like it's a little intense having them out too much. One more breath here. And then we're going to release. You can use your hands to bring those knees together and extend. Move the blocks out of the way for the moment. We're going to swing around to all fours. I'm just going to adjust my clothes at the minute, so take a minute to do that if you need to as well. And we're going to come to all fours, and we're just going to get some cat-cow. So we want those hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and we're just going to go ahead, bring it to cow on an inhale, bring it to cat on an exhale. Just nice and easy, in and out, working that spine. Now we're going to start drawing a circle with it. So start getting those hips involved a little more. A little bit of a circle around that spine, circle around the shoulder blades and the hips. So it might loosen things up a little more, and then take it the other way. If your body is like, I don't know how to do that circle, you can just stay with standard cat-cow. That is absolutely fine. And then end in your cat and release. Now from here, we're going to work on the wrists a little bit because chances are you're feeling it down there. So we're going to go ahead and have a seat back on our heels. Now, if this is too intense for your ankles, you can always just have a regular seat here as well. We're going to go ahead and take those arms out in front of us. Spread the fingers wide and think of pulling those fingers back towards the shoulders. And then we're going to take those wrists down. Curl the fingers into a little fist, release, and bring it up. So now we're going to flow through that, bring it down, curl, release, and up. A few more times. Now in the next one, when we bring our hands down to that fist, we're going to hold it there. I really want you to feel that stretch in the tops of the forearms. Then we're going to go ahead and rotate those fists upward. Pull the elbows in. So we've got nice little tight dinosaur arms, and you're going to draw circles with those wrists. And I want you to create tension while you're drawing those circles. And then go ahead and take them the other way. And then you can go ahead and just shake them out, and hopefully that loosened up that just a little bit. Now we're going to stay on all fours, and we're going to work on a little bit of flowing with child's pose here. I do this in my class a lot because it just feels really good. So I'm actually going to have my knees out a little wider here. You can adjust your knees as necessary. You're going to reach your right hand over to the top right corner of your mat or just outside the shoulder, cross the left hand underneath, and you're going to exhale, sit the hips back, create the length down the lats. Then as we inhale and come up, we're going to reach over to the other side of the mat. So switch the positions of the hands and exhale, sit back. So every time you inhale, come up and switch. Every time you exhale, take it back nice and long. And we're just going to do that a few more times. Really working on that nice length down the side of the back. Now this time, instead of crossing directly under, let's thread the needle. Keep the hips a little higher as you drop the head and the shoulder down. Inhale, bring that arm out long. Exhale, other arm goes under. And again, just keep this flowing with the breath, side to side. Let's do one more on each side. Bring it back up to center, reach long, go ahead and sit all the way back into child's pose now. And if that head doesn't comfortably reach the floor, grab yourself a yoga block to rest your forehead on. And go ahead and come back up to all fours. From here, taking it to puppy pose. So it's a little bit different than our child's pose. For puppy pose, we want to keep the hips over the knees. We're just going to walk the hands forward as if you were going into a downward facing dog. Drop that chest through. I'm bringing my forehead down to the floor. If you're working on your neck flexibility, you might actually extend your chin long on the floor. I am not to that point, so I'm going to stay right here and just enjoy this, feeling it in my shoulder blades, drawing the abs in. And go ahead and walk those hands back. Give yourself a little cat stretch. Round it out. And release. Now for this next stretch, it's also a variation on puppy pose. If you want and you have yoga blocks, this is going to be a little extra fun. So you want to get those yoga blocks about shoulder width apart. We're going to bring our elbows down to the yoga blocks, make some prayer hands up top. Now, some of you might be able to do this from the floor, but I'm one who needs a little raised surface. So you're going to kind of come back to that puppy pose, driving that chest down, and then you're going to start bending at the elbows, bringing that thumb in between the shoulder blades, and really get that stretch on the shoulders. Take a few deep breaths here. And go ahead and release. Walk it up. Give yourself a little cat stretch. And release. All right, now I'm going to turn to face the front. So I'm kind of moving all around, but again, move in an area on your mat that is comfortable for you and makes sense. Now I'm going to get this other mat here to be a little extra padding under my knees. You might want to grab another towel or roll up your yoga mat to create a little extra padding. I'm going to bring my knees onto that. I'm going to keep my blocks off to the side. We're going to start by bringing that right or left foot forward, and we're going to extend into that hip flexor, and then I'm just going to bring my hand down to a block on the inside of that thigh. So nothing like super intense here as of yet. Just breathing through that hip flexor. And now take the hand to the outside and hold it on the outside. Now, if you want to intensify this, you can bend that back leg, grab the ankle, pull it towards the glute. That's a more intense version of this. It might be a little too intense, so you don't have to do that version. If you don't want to, you can leave that leg long. And if you want to extra intensify, you're going to grab with the other hand. So I'm switching hands, bringing that inside hand back down, and then I'm going to sink forward, press into that, and rotate open over that thigh. So this is a more little advanced version. You might be like, absolutely not. So you can stay in any of those earlier lunges I showed you. This is going to intensify on the quad and the hip flexor. And it's also going to make that knee grind in the floor a little more. So if you need to, pad up or just skip the ankle grab. If you have the ankle, you're going to go ahead and release it. We're all going to go ahead and bring that knee back, bring the other one forward. Now I have my yoga blocks in the highest setting. You can decide what's best for you. Going to sit forward, going to keep one hand on my thigh, one hand on the yoga block, just trying to create that length through the hip flexor. So this might be where you want to live. You can also just have both hands on the yoga blocks if that's happiness for you. Now if you're doing the single arm, take it to the outside so you can kind of start to feel that balance if you're going to grab the ankle. Then if you want to grab the ankle, reach back, square it off. Ooh, this side's more intense. For me at least, I don't know about you. And you can hold it here or you can switch. Bring that outside hand back out, rotate, open, and twist as you pull that heel in. And instead of shrugging the elbow up, if you feel like you can bring it in more, bend that back elbow to pull it in a little more. Really push the floor away with that bottom hand, whether it's on a block or the floor. And if you've got the ankle, we're going to release, going to bring it back. So we're back on our knees. Now we're going to get the hamstrings a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and bring that right leg back forward again. And we're going to bring our hands down to either yoga blocks or if you have any sort of push-up stance. It's going to be a little easier on your life if you've got a way to raise your hands. Because we're going to keep our back hip over our knee, lengthen that front leg out. And then we're just going to point and flex through that front ankle. So if I turn to the side with this, a few things I want you to notice are that I'm working on lengthening through my spine, lengthening through that leg, and keeping that core engaged, not shrugging the shoulders up. Now I have my back toes curled under, but you can flatten them out if that feels better. I just kind of like the stability of having them back there. And then hold it in the flexed position. Now if you want to, you can try to hinge forward a little more, just as long as you're not overly rounding to get there. That's going to create a little more length. If you hinge, lift the tailbone. This is kind of like the level 1 towards building up to the splits to get that tightness in the front leg. Let's take that one back. We're going to bring the other one forward. And again, hands on blocks if you can, because if you can't get the leg straight without blocks, you have to have your hands on your hips a little bit to get that leg straight, and it's hard to balance. So ultimately, we're trying to avoid this. All right, we want to be able to lift and lengthen into the hamstring. And you're going to point and flex through that side. And just keep going, rocking and rolling through that heel. And then we're going to go ahead and leave it in the flexed position. And then if you want to work on that hinge at the hips, you can hinge it down and rise. This is really going to start to get into that tailbone. Again, try to keep that spine extended as best as you can. to get that length. And then we're going to just go ahead and bring it back. All right. I'm going to turn back to the front again. I'm going to get rid of my knee padding because the excess kneeling part is over. So I'm going to move that out of the way. All right, we're getting there. We're at the 45-minute mark, so we're almost done with this. I hope you've enjoyed kind of staying down low on the mat and not standing up. We're going to work on a little rotation through the spine and then end up getting the glutes a little bit more. So I'm going to take this mic pack off at this point so I don't kind of roll around on it. So to start this, I'm going to turn this way to the camera so you can kind of see what I'm doing a little more with my body. I'm going to lay down on my right side. From here, I'm going to lengthen my right leg out to the floor, bend my left knee, and bring it to the floor in front of me. So the starting position for this is left knee is over the top, 90-degree angle, touching the ground all the way around. My right leg is extended out nice and long. And then my shoulders and my arms are just stacked on top of each other. The head is kind of just hanging down, but if it's more comfortable, you can put a towel or something under there if you want. Now, the goal of this move is this knee stays on the ground. We don't want it coming up. So we're going to inhale, reach that hand out a little farther. Then as you exhale, press the knee and the right arm into the floor as you reach behind. And we're going to inhale, close it down. And exhale, open it up. And just keep that going. We're just going to do this a few more times on this side. Some people might get their arm all the way to the ground. I applaud you, I wish. Some of you might have a less range of motion than me. Just work with what you are given. And then this next one, we're going to hold it open. And as we hold it open, I want you to really press the right arm down. Reach the left arm back, press the left knee into the ground, and now I want you to activate that right leg on the ground. So create some length and really open and reach. And if your hair is in the way again, like mine, you can take your clip or your bun out, whatever you got to do. One more deep breath. And we're going to release. Now we got to roll over to the other side. So we're going to go ahead and roll it over. So now I'm over on this side. Left side down, left leg long, right knee bent and planted on the ground. Arms stacked on top of shoulders. Same thing, kind of activate everything a little bit. On the first inhale, reach that top arm out a little longer. And then exhale, rotate it open. So inhale, close. Exhale, open. This is my sticky side. I really feel this in my lower back here. So I'm going to honor that and not try to push my body past where it comfortably wants to go. I'm going to really fight a little harder on this side to keep that knee down. So just keep that flowing. I was getting a little tangled up in my mic there for a second, so I had to kind of arrange what my arms were doing. Let's do two more flowing through the movement. And at the end of the second one, we're going to hold it open. As I hold it open, I'm pressing now the left arm into the floor, reaching that right arm back, pressing the right knee down, and then activate that left leg as well. Take a few deep breaths. And then we're going to close it down. And you can go ahead and kind of curl up into a little fetal position for a second after all of that. And then we're going to roll back onto our backs again. I'm going to swing around a little bit here. All right. You don't have to swing around as much as I am. I just want to make sure that you can see me from the various angles. So we did that figure four position earlier. We're going to revisit it now. So keep that left foot planted, and we're going to cross that right ankle over. Now, you may have felt enough intensity just by pressing and holding right here. I know since this is my bad hip, I already feel this pretty good. But if you're not really feeling it and you want more, you can sit up for a minute so you can reach through, wrap your fingers around either your hamstring, or if you're flexible enough, your shin. I'm going to go back to under here. Now the goal is once you have it, you have to be able to lay your head back down. And this is going to intensify the stretch on that hip. If that's too intense, you can go back to having that foot down on the floor. You can also utilize the strap and wrap that around if you would like to. Just take a few deep breaths here. And as you're pulling it in, instead of bending the elbows up here, start by trying to pull the shoulder blades back and down into the floor and lengthening that neck. And go ahead and release that side, uncross. And we're going to take it to the other side. And again, you might want to stay right here and let that hand push that leg out. Or you might want to sit up for a minute, wrap around the opposite leg, and then let the head and the shoulders come back down and hold and just breathe. Now, if you feel like you're kind of rocking over onto your side, you can try to just re-find your center. That might adjust where you're feeling that stretch a little bit. And release, place it down. Now we're going to go back to our strap, our towel. Hopefully yours is within reach. I have to sit up and grab mine because it's over here. So if you have to do that too, that's okay. Come back down to the floor. Now from here, we're going to go back to wrapping it around our leg. I'm going to kind of kick my blocks out of the way. And then I'm going to bring my right leg up to the sky once more. Now, if it's intense enough already, you can keep the left leg bent, or you can lengthen it out to the floor and just reach up, pull those shoulder blades back, and just enjoy the stretch down the hamstring. Walk the hands as far up as comfortable. And just take a few deep breaths. Now from here, we're going to take that left hand out to the side. We're going to hold on to both straps with just the right hand, and we're going to let that leg fall open to the side. So we're really opening the hip here. Now my leg still floats up because I have, again, a bad hip. It doesn't open very much. The goal is we don't want to roll over here. So you want to try to keep that left hip on the ground. As that leg comes over, you can use that left arm for leverage. You can also drive that right elbow into the ground, or you can keep it outstretched long and floating. It is up to you, whatever feels best and most stable for your body. That heel can be down closer or up higher. Again, wherever you're going to feel that stretch good on that inner thigh and in that hip. Then we're going to go ahead and bring it up to the center, grab the strap with the left hand now, bring the right hand out, and keeping that right hip driving into the floor, so don't roll off of it. We're just going to bring that foot just across the midline until you start to feel a stretch in the IT band and the glute. So again, I'm still driving that right hip into the floor. I'm not rolling off my hip. Only the leg is coming across until I feel that stretch where I want it. And we're holding and breathing here. And now if you desire, you can take it into the twist, rolling over more with that hip. Little intensifier. Ooh, I feel this one today. Still pressing that right shoulder down. And again, I'm kind of using my left elbow as leverage. Your hand might be out long. Everyone's a little different here. Hopefully you don't have a step in the way back here like I do on my bottom leg. Just take a few deep breaths here. Hopefully you're feeling this nice and released into that glute. Then we're going to bring it back up to the sky. Bend that bottom leg, plant it, and you can just take a couple deep breaths here, really pulling that leg forward, and then release. Plant that foot, wrap it around the other one. And again, you can keep that bottom leg bent if that feels good, or you can extend it all the way out and just hold and breathe here. As you start to feel good, you can reach up a little higher, pull those toes a little more towards your forehead. And of course, start to drive those shoulders down into the floor. And I'm still creating tension with that bottom leg. I'm not just kind of letting it fall out to the side. Create that tension, flex into the ankle as needed. And now I'm going to hold on to the straps with only the left hand. Let that right hand come out to the side. And I'm going to open that left leg out and get that inner thigh and groin. Now this leg can come down a little lower for me, but I'm actually holding it up to try to make it even to my other side, because while I could let it come down deeper, I don't want my sides to get too uneven from one another. So since my joint limits my capacity on this side, I want to try to keep that going on this side so I don't end up getting deeper muscular imbalances, because those can lead to pain over time, and we don't want to make them any worse. Take 1 or 2 more deep breaths here. And you can always hold these longer too. You can pause me, hold them longer if you want. We're going to bring it up to the center, grab on with the right hand, get that left hand out. And again, I'm going to drive my left hip into the ground, so not rolling off of it yet. And just start to cross that right over until you feel that stretch coming down the side of the body. So like the inner thighs are just kind of coming together. Take a couple breaths here, really getting that glute IT band. So this is a little gentler than when we roll all the way over. You might want to stay here because this kind of stabilizes the lower back and lets you just get the glute in the hip without the lower back coming into play. But if you want that lower back to come play, now is the time. You can roll all the way up. That hip comes up and over. Keeping that left shoulder now still on the ground as you bring that leg all the way across the body. Keep breathing. Go ahead and bring it back up to the center. You can go ahead and bend that bottom knee. Take it off the top one. Let's plant both feet down to the ground. You can move that strap out of the way here. And just to kind of loosen up that back a little bit, just kind of rock the pelvis forward and back. So I'm going to kind of arch a little bit, tuck, arch, and tuck. And then go ahead and leave it tucked a little bit. So you're pressing that lower back down. Hug both knees up into the chest. Give them a little squeeze. Take a few deep breaths here. And from there, we're just going to release and come down to Shavasana, to corpse pose. Now, if it's more comfortable, you can leave your feet planted with your knees bent, or you can let them fall together. Or you can just go ahead and extend those legs out nice and long. Let your hands come to your sides, palms to the sky. So again, just finding that comfortable corpse pose for you. Once you're there, every time you exhale, try to see if you can release some of the fidgeting you're doing, perhaps some of the muscles you're flexing. Try to release into the brow a little bit. Unclench the jaw. And just let that belly rise and fall with each breath. Sometimes during these slower stretches or these held poses like this, that's when the mind wants to start creeping in, maybe with anxieties, with worries. If you start to feel that, just kind of acknowledge it and try to let it go. Bring that focus back to the body. You can really focus on the breath. You can count it as you inhale and exhale. Or if it helps, you can visualize yourself somewhere that brings you a lot of comfort, a lot of peace. Maybe you're lying on a nice warm sandy beach, that body's just sinking into the sand. Or you're on nice fluffy blankets. Whatever's going to help you just kind of relax in. Keep that breath flowing in and out through the nostrils. And now we're just going to wake the body up enough to kind of slide the feet in and plant them if they're not there already. Let the knees fall together and press that lower back into the floor a little bit more. So this is going to kind of help us with our breath a little bit from this position. Go ahead and bring one hand to your belly, one hand up to your heart, and just still breathe naturally in and out through the nostrils. Feel the hands rise and fall. And don't be afraid to kind of push into the belly a little bit more so that hand on the belly rises and falls a little bit more. Most of the day, we tend to not necessarily breathe to the full capacity of our lungs. When we let that belly rise and extend, it kind of allows our lungs to fully fill all the way to the bottom. And now we're going to take an inhale on a nice slow 4 count. So take it in through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold at the top. Try to take in a little more air. Let the lips part and try to exhale for 4. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for a minute and then see if you can squeeze a little more air out. And now at your own speed, take 2 more breaths like that with your own 4 count, giving that pause at the top, trying to get a little bit more air in, and then the pause at the bottom, try to get a little more air out. And if you want, on the exhale, you can start creating a little bit of sound with the throat, a little You can even let it out as a sigh or even an om if that brings you joy. So I'm going to do a few on my own speed. Yours might vary from mine. I'll make a little noise so that you know when my exhale is coming. You can kind of get an idea for how long these breaths are going for me. And see if you can join me in the length and the depth over time. And maybe you find you can exhale a little bit longer even. Maybe it's an inhale for 4, an exhale for 8. Give yourself one more breath to kind of play around with that. Just find your natural breath now through the nostrils. You can stay down here longer if you want, but if you're ready to sit up, you're welcome to join me in sitting up. Otherwise, enjoy lying on the ground for as long as feels good. If you're sitting up with me, just roll over to your fetal position to start. Let yourself kind of rest on your side. And then from there, we're going to work our way back up to a comfortable seated or kneeling position. So again, you can utilize those yoga blocks if you want, or you can sit down on the ground. Think of bringing that head tall. Hands can be at the heart, on the knees, or in the lap. Just take a few breaths in and out through the nostrils. Eyes can be opened or closed. Thank you so much for joining me today. You can let those eyes flutter back open if you want. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste. And I hope you'll come back for more because I plan on uploading these a little more regularly. But I hope you enjoyed this one and I will see you around. You can find me on socials at Geeky Fit, specifically on Instagram or on Facebook at Melanie Bolin Fitness. So I hope I will see you there. And if you have any requests, please do email them to me at geekyfitmel@gmail.com and we'll talk. All right. Bye.